Welcome to Soulfire Wisdom with Kate Olson. As an evolving spirit and change adventure navigator, it is Kate's mission to empower and guide you on your path and inspire your truest passions. She will encourage you to share your gifts, speak your truth, and ignite your inner wisdom and purpose. She hopes to do so with a little humor and grace and her own soulfire passion. Kate talks with amazing guests who have embraced the pursuit and are fanning the flames of their own passion, purpose, and soulfire wisdom. Now here's your host, Kate.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Soulfire Wisdom and this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. So it's Tips, Tricks, and Triumphs Tuesday. And if this is your first time listening, I'm a hypnotherapist, an NLP practitioner, a life coach, and a Reiki master. But I like to call myself a change adventure navigator because I love guiding clients through obstacles and adversity to find their path, purpose, and peace. So I have a little tip, or maybe it's a trick, I'm not sure which, for you today. And that is everybody this time of year is thinking about resolutions or goals, or how I'm going to do what I want to do this year. And so I have three little things that you can do that will help you to achieve those goals or resolutions. And the first one is to focus on what you want to achieve, on the goal of what the outcome is going to be. Like, for instance, if you want to lose weight, don't put your focus on those, pounds that you want to go away. Put your focus on the weight or fitness level that you want to achieve, and imagine yourself at that goal that you're trying to achieve. And then tip number 2 is, if you can, break your goal. Instead of just having this one big, in 6 months I'm going to lose 40 pounds. Try to break it down into small daily goals that you're pretty sure you can achieve. And if you do it that way and you keep on going, you'll be able to give yourself little rewards along the way, and you're much more likely to achieve that end goal. And third is, a lot of people have failure in mind even before they start out, because, in the past they've, they started out on a goal and they didn't finish. So they figure that they're going to fail at this one too. And don't do that to yourself unless you, even if you make a mistake, even if you have a bad day and you get off track, unless you quit, you haven't failed. And so just keep on going, and eventually you'll get to your end goal. So we have a great show planned for today. My guest is Januarie Wood, and she is a vision reader, clairvoyant, and consultant who helps entrepreneurs align their message with their brand. And she's an inspiring speaker as well. She's appeared on ABC, NBC, Fox, and CBS News. January offers readings, clairvoyant consulting, and mentoring programs, as well as custom guided meditation recordings. So I'd like to introduce her now. Hi, January. How are you?
I'm doing great, Kate. Thank you.
Well, I'm really happy to have you here today. So to start out with, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what led you to your current path?
Sure. That's a good question. Um, just a little bit about me. I'm not going to go into my full story. But when I was younger, I realized, I mean, it takes a little while when you're a kid, but I realized that I was sensitive to energies, and so I could read energies. I think one of the things that has helped me develop that through the years was that as a child, my parents were actually frightened, but yet they didn't shut it down. And a lot of parents, I think, sometimes shut kids down and say, oh, it's just your imagination. But they actually listened to what I said when I would predict something, or I think the first time I said anything, or that the one that sticks out the most, was that I told my mother that I had someone who visits me at night. It was an older lady in a nightgown that would visit me and talk to me when I was around 3 or 4 years old. And I remember just really feeling the energy of fear that she had when I was telling her this, which I found unusual. But at the same time, she asked some questions. She was very open, and I think that was helpful, that she didn't dismiss me, because I think children are dismissed a lot, and I think that everybody has intuitive abilities, and if they are not shut down, it can be a great help in a person's life, and even in a child's life. So that's where it started. And
Yeah,
then and
I've
then through
heard
the
that.
years, I've just been able to read energies.
Yeah, I've heard that before. It seems like people who have parents that are supportive often end up, developing that skill more.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
so what is a vision reading? Can you give the listeners a little clearer idea on what that is?
Yeah. So vision reading is, and I just like the word vision because I want to help people connect with their vision, which is bigger than a goal, and it's really bigger than what you want. A vision, I think, is, life force energy is trying to manifest itself through you, and that's happening all the time. And when we connect, our vision and our desires and our longings, when we connect that with our true purpose, why we chose to be on this earth, and we connect with that life force energy that's trying to manifest itself through us, then we are exactly where we need to be. And I want to read a little. This is just a sentence that I wrote, or a couple sentences. When you finally embrace your wholeness, you fall in love with yourself. You then can share your gifts freely with the waiting world. And the world really is waiting for what you have to offer. You can thrive with wild abandon because you're in the flow. And so it's not about having everything that you want or anything like that. It's about really connecting with your purpose, and being in the life force energy. And so I think that the readings help people understand, get clues, and sometimes outright just get what their life force energy is, how it's trying to manifest. And we all feel that. And so it gives you an idea of your purpose, because you totally knew your purpose, what you wanted to get, what you wanted to learn, when you chose to come to this earth as a human being. So the energy readings can help you do that. I can connect with your guides. Sometimes they have direct messages for you. Sometimes you have loved ones that are on your team that have passed, or ancestors.
So
Um,
you
yeah.
you kind of told us how you discovered that you had this gift, but you didn't really tell us how you got started doing readings. How did that happen?
Well, in '96, I started my first business, and it was brick and mortar because the internet wasn't big then, as a hypnotist. And, it ended up being mostly weight loss and quit smoking and a lot of anxiety because I started learning self-hypnosis when I was in my 20s, early 20s, because I had anxiety, panic attacks, which are not fun. I didn't know what they were. And when I started learning about it, I started learning self-hypnosis to try to control it. So, so I opened a business as a hypnotist. And in that relaxation, I would, as I was working on clients, really get a lot of messages from them. I mean, I kind of did in regular life anyway. So I kind of know, like, when someone thinks something really hard, you can hear it. When they think something about you, you can kind of feel it or hear it. Sometimes I know things about a person here and there, or people I knew, of course. Or sometimes a relative would come to me who would pass to send a message to a person that I knew or I would meet. But this was kind of interesting because as they relaxed, I relaxed, and I was really getting a lot of messages. And so I started sharing it with some of the people that I thought would be open, that were hypnosis clients. I would share it with them. But also it was kind of cool because as I was doing the hypnosis, and like, you're doing it intuitively. So I would get some of the suggestions from their guides to give them while they were in the hypnotic state. So that was kind of cool. And so people started coming to me, not just for the hypnosis, but also for the coaching, which really wasn't a thing then. So it was mostly advice, consulting, that type of thing. Started speaking and going into companies and doing stress management and sales and different things. And so I could kind of recognize like what the person's blocks were intuitively and be able to help them with that. And so it kind of developed into that. So for years, I've been working with women, women who think too much, like successful women who think too much, because that's one of the biggest blocks to your intuition is thinking.
Yeah,
And now
yeah.
I don't even remember the question you asked me, but I just got off on a
So,
roll.
well, what you started talking about kind of leads into the next question I wanted to ask, and that is, can you tell the listeners where the information that you give them comes from?
Yeah, that's been kind of interesting because it's taken me a while to sort of realize it because like you said, in the hypnosis, I just started getting it, and I'm like, okay. Or when I'm out and about, it's just like someone whispering in my ear, sort of. But what I find interesting is that the way I perceive it, because when you're intuitive or clairvoyant or even psychic, you have to interpret everything that you get, and that interpretation goes through your own brain and your own personality. So when I see it, some of the messages come through. They come through your guides, and guides speak in different ways. So some guides I can get just really direct verbal messages, which that's really nice. And some guides speak in a way that is a combination of pictures and feelings and words and flashes and color. So I've just been, trying to understand this as I've gone along through the years. And I tell you, I told you how old I was. So, so I've been around for
January, I just got a message from Leela.
Hi, Leela.
She says, so cool. January and Kate. Leela is who connected January and I. She's a
Yeah.
friend of mine, and
She's a
January met her via all the classes and everything we've been having over the Zoom and everything this year.
Leela is a wild, free spirit,
Oh, she is. Yes, definitely.
like the wind.
So you did a vision reading for me, and I have a couple of questions for you about that. And one of the things you conveyed to me was that I needed to reclaim my sense of wonder and more fully live my human experience. So this is something I was actually aware of and have been kind of trying to focus on the past 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that and how someone might find themselves at this place in their life?
That's a great question because it really is common. And what can happen with us, especially someone like you who's done a lot of spiritual work, has connected with, different avenues of spirituality, who has learned these things, who has worked through blocks, and who has spiritually advanced. What can happen is that we can kind of get too far out there, and we can kind of forget that, hey, I'm in a human body right now. And so, but we need to re-embrace that, because it is the vessel that we've chosen to experience life through at this time. And so we all hear, I'm not, what is that saying, where I'm a spiritual being having a human experience? Yeah, that's true. And I'm also a human being having a spiritual experience as well. And so sometimes the body gets like sort of left behind in all of this, but the body is very spiritual as well. And the body has its own purpose and its own awareness. And so what we want to do is we want to get that balance so that I am here present in my body, and we want to get that balance with the physical and the spiritual together. And so I think that's why a lot of these different breathing exercises are so important. Some of you have your favorites, and sometimes we forget. Grounding exercises are very important, just to bring the spirit, our soul core down, back to the what I call the karmic cradle, which is I guess, is it the root chakra that's down in your pelvic area, that area. Because a lot of times it's in our head as we're thinking and figuring and all this stuff too much, and we really need to bring it down. And when we do that, we not only feel more grounded and centered and more present in our beloved body that we've chosen, but we also we breathe life into our body, and we need that energy. And it can help us look and feel younger too, I believe. See, because Kate looks much younger than she is. And from what I understand, right? And
Yeah,
I'm trying to do
don't go there, January.
I'm trying to do the same thing in my 50s. I want all my cells to be enlivened. And when we pull our spirit down in there, and we try to, and it's always going to be in balance, because it's always like a balancing act. But I want to be human while I'm here, and really embrace everything there is about being human. And a lot of times we kind of forget to do that.
Yeah, you can get very cerebral, and especially if you're like, I'm an empath, and a lot of times I can mentally kind of figure things out, how they're gonna progress, like, okay, say relationships and that. And instead of going through the process of actually living them, I'll say, okay, well, I know how that's going to end, so I'll just skip it. And you can't really do that with life. You actually have to live it. So
right. Yeah, and we forget about that, but you're right, because it's not even about the outcomes, it's about the moment you're in. And that's why, like I said, I mean, I work with especially women. We're pretty bad with that. I mean, you could say to a guy, "What are you thinking?" If he says nothing, that might actually be true. But I think with women, I mean, that's not a dig, but with
No,
women,
no, it's not.
we
We
just like,
overthink. They sometimes
yeah,
are
and it's,
more in the moment.
yeah, and it's unfortunate, but the thing is that we're taught to think, to rethink, to think it out, because what got us our goals, our success, our accolades, and all this, you know, in business life isn't going to get us our joy, and it robs us of that. And through the years, I've learned to, I think at least 50% less than I ever have. And it's much better that way, because then intuition has room. But if the mind's going all the time, your intuition doesn't have room to grow. And your joy certainly doesn't, because we're always thinking about what's going to happen or what happened.
Definitely.
Uh,
And so you started getting into what I'm going to ask on my last question a little bit earlier, but maybe you can elaborate a little bit. There seems to be a lot of symbolism in the messages we get in readings, from guides and that kind of thing. So how can we decipher those?
Well, I think with everyone it's different, because every reading I do is so very different. Um, I think that like meditation, of course, with everybody almost everyone, not everyone, is beneficial. I think that we can call to our guides and we can ask them to come closer, and even verbally ask them to come closer when we're in meditation. And in doing this, we can start to receive more direct messages. But I think that one of the main things that we can do is to be still. And that's really hard for a lot of people, is to be still and to listen. There's a couple of neat exercises that you can do to um, increase your intuition. I think the question more was about the guides and deciphering what they have to say. I think that you can receive little things, and if you pay attention and you sit in the moment, and that mindfulness is also hard, but it's a habit that you can work on. And so going somewhere where you're not distracted by, and turning things off. Electronics are so horribly distracting. Turning things off and just going somewhere where you can just be. So nature's really good with that, right? And so taking a moment, and I go through the senses. So sitting in the woods, or at a park, you can go through your senses. What do you smell? And just experience that for one full minute. What do you hear? What do you feel physically, tactilely? Is that a word? The sun, the wind, the ground beneath you. What do you taste? What do you sense? And kind of go through all of those one at a time and really experience. But here's another thing, is when something comes up, sometimes your guides are trying to talk to you and you dismiss it or you push it down. And you talked about weight. We do that, a sense comes up, a feeling comes up, and it's really easy to push it down with some food. Food's a great thing to push things down with.
Wonderful distractions.
Yeah. So messages come through in a lot of ways. They come through our body.
I have a listener question. So they say, I feel like my guides are giving me the wrong information. Is this possible?
Sometimes guides give us information that we do not want to hear. then this also gets into protection. Is it your guides or is it coming from somewhere else? So I would do some exercises in with maybe some guided meditations that are about connecting with the light, connecting with source. Are you connecting with your guides or are you connecting with someone else? In some cases, because I went through this as a teenager, and this happens to young people, sometimes when their hormones are changing, they're very confused, they're very sensitive to all kinds of things that you can be so sensitive that spirits, souls that are out there that are not healthy can maybe not influence you, but they can contact you. They can give you messages that are not, they can give you feelings that are not positive. So we learn how to protect ourselves, to surround ourselves with light so that things that are negative cannot get in. So that souls that are negative, kind of like people who are negative, because souls are just people without bodies. It doesn't mean they're enlightened because they're dead.
There's a couple of other things that I'd just like to throw out in case they might be thinking this. It can be that you're interpreting what your guides are telling you incorrectly. That is possible. But your guides are on your side, so they're not intentionally giving you wrong information.
Right. So, yeah, because your whole team is there to move you forward. And so sometimes it's stuff we don't want to hear, but the information that you get from your guides is designed to move you forward. You could get flashes, like I got flashes. I knew I was going to be in a car wreck. I got flashes for a year of the car wreck. So that would be something that I was not fun to hear, no. But I also knew that it was going to happen for a reason, which I got a lot of learning, quick learning from the accident. And I didn't kill anyone, or myself, so that was positive. But if you want to be more specific, I might be able to give you some more information. I hope that's helpful.
Okay, well, we'll see if she says anything else. So, okay. Can you give some tips for helping people connect with their guides or with their own intuition?
Yeah, there's a couple of really neat things that you can do. One, like I said, when you're in your meditation, in your quiet moments, you can say to your guides, come closer, and then just be in a state of just being and feeling, and see if you can start to feel their presence. And have you ever felt where someone, was staring at you, or you felt someone come into the room that you didn't hear them, you just felt that someone was there? Sometimes you'll feel that feeling. And as you're feeling that, just be open, and you can feel their essences, because each guide has its own essence. And a little bit about guides, some of them are angels, what I call angels. They have never been in human form on the earth. And some of them have been in human form many times, but usually not for a long, long time. And so those are the two types of guides. Some convey more of a male energy and some more of a female energy. And some, for me, it's hard to tell, but usually I can get male or female from them. And then, of course, you're going to have, like I said, some ancestors or relatives. And sometimes maybe a friend that has passed might be on your team as well. So if you ask them to come forth, you may start to feel them. And then sometimes you may have a dream where one of them talks to you. So that's kind of cool, where they offer you something, where they just show up. You'll have maybe some kind of crazy dream, but you'll look across the room and you'll make eye contact with someone, and you'll know that was someone significant, even though you don't recognize their physicalness. So that's one thing that we can do. When it
So,
comes to intuition with the body,
mhm.
just a really easy thing that you can do is where you can start really listening to your body. And you've read that, probably Kate knows, and you may have heard of this before. But before you put something into your body, is to hold it to your body, because your body wants you to hear its own wisdom. So, like an orange, or even like some vitamins, or any kind of food, or spice. Just stand with your feet on the ground, take some deep breaths, hold that piece to your body, and just kind of move it up and down just slowly. And if your body doesn't want it, you'll feel a push away from it. If your body does want it, you may feel that your body leans into it. That's what do they call that? Oh, it's like finding the water. What is it? Darn it. See, that's what happens when
I know what you're trying to say, but it's not.
dowsing. It's dowsing. That's it. It's dowsing.
Yes.
When I was little, my parents gave me a branch, like a dogwood branch, so they could find out where to drill for water on the land that they bought. I think I was 8, 9 years old, and to find out where that water was, and that's dowsing as well, where it's like, well, with your body, it's a way of your body really gets to talk to you. So that's pretty cool. So try that and see what you think. Those are a couple of things you can do.
Yeah. So can you tell us about some prior readings or clients that you've had where the vision readings have been able to help them with something that they were dealing with?
Yeah, there are a couple that stand out. One of them was a guy I ended up like working with continually, but what happened was I could see that his energy had split off, and this is totally normal. So it split off at a certain age, and this happens with a lot of us, where something takes place. Now, in retrospect, it may not seem traumatic, but it causes us to kind of go in a different direction. And so with him, it was at the age of 9 months. Of course, he didn't remember what had happened because he was too young. And he had asked his parents, who were still alive, and they said that they had moved at the age of 9 months. He had moved to another state. They had to move in. They kind of lost some finances and standing in the community, and then they had to move in with relatives. But before they had, so what we found out later, because he had a difficult time in relationships and connecting with women. He was always searching for a certain woman, and he would think he got one, and then shortly thereafter, it wasn't, he would ruin the relationship. And so what we found out later was that he had a nanny that lived in his room with him, and from the time of birth to the time of 9 months. Now, he had been diagnosed with what is it when you can't connect with people?
Autism. Autism.
No, it was like some disorder where you never like connected with your mother, with your caregiver.
Okay.
He had been diagnosed with that, but really he had connected. He had connected with her, not his mom. And then when they moved, they fired the nanny, and they didn't, so he never saw her again. And so this was an extreme trauma to him, and felt like he had lost the one person he had connected with. And so he was in some way always searching for this person. And he would have these dreams, he told me later, just about her eyes and seeing her again. And so it really made sense. Another one that I think was interesting is that, and this is a sad story because it was someone, when I do the readings, a lot of times I don't meet the person. I just need your name, birth date, and the area you're born in. And then if you want an area to look at, like finances or whatever. So this young lady I hadn't met. And so, but during the reading, I had a young boy that was 9 years old, came forth. I could see him really clearly, and in his hand he had a matchbox car, those little metal cars that boys like, and he just showed it to me, and I could feel a lot of stuff coming from him, and some things I didn't share with her because it was a little traumatic, but and it just I record the reading and then I send it to the client, but it just kind of stayed in my mind. And he showed me the ages between 9 and 11. He kept showing me those numbers. So what I found out was that her brother had died when he was 9.
Oh.
For 2 years, the kids were not allowed to acknowledge the death. They had to pretend that he was still alive. And so he did not transition until he was 11 years old, would have been 11 years old. And so even though he had passed at 9, this is why we have to be really careful with what we say. You know, when people pass, let them go. I mean, they left. Even if you didn't think that it was their time, it was their time. If they left, it was their time. And so when we try to hang on to them, like one of the ladies, I didn't know her, but her brother had passed, and her brother came to me with a message for her. And I had asked her, I said, "Do you have a brother that just passed?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "He wants me to tell you to stop saying he's lost, because he is not lost. You did not lose him. And he's tired of hearing it. And he wants you to know he stayed as long as he could and longer than he should have. And you need to let him go and know that he is not lost." So, got to be careful, you know, what we say when people pass, and really they just want you to let them go and go to the light. They've got work to do on the other side. Just did a reading for a guy who his wife had passed, and it was really interesting. The vision of her I saw, beautiful, and I described it to him: white dress and long red hair and red lipstick, and just so alive, and later he had told me that was her. He has a picture of her. It was from a picnic that they just was one of the most loveliest days that they'd ever had together, and she was so beautiful. And that was from that time. She had this really cool white dress on. But people, you know, they're still there. I mean, they haven't gone any. I mean, you know, they just changed form. And she had said that, or she showed me that when she first passed, she was like reaching out to other women to try to find someone to take care of him, because he had taken care of her for years through her cancer. And now he found out he had lymphoma, and she felt guilty that she wasn't there to take care of him. And for a while she was reaching out, and then she had finally, as she transitioned, realized that he was moving through his own thing that he needed to do that would strengthen him. But still, he kept saying, and I told him, you know, just release her with light. It's going to take a while, but yeah. So, you know, with the reading, I never know what I'm going to get.
Yes, definitely. So, in addition to the readings, you also do consulting and mentoring. And what does that entail?
With the mentoring, because it's kind of coaching, but I don't really it's not traditional coaching. So with mentoring, I'm mostly with what I have been doing is working the last 7 years or so, working with women who think too much, and we do several readings through it. During the mentoring process, we learn how to really to think less so we can live more. And usually it's women who we get ourselves into this thing where we have all these thinking loops. We have a hard time relaxing, sleeping, being in the moment. We experience stress. We're successful, we've reached these goals, we've done these things, and yet we're finding that we're not really that happy, you know? And so then we're like, what? And we don't know who we are. And so it's all about really connecting with who we are. And so each segment, which is in a 2-week segment, we go through different exercises, and we move into a different space each time. And along with this goes the guided meditation recordings, which I call mind meditations, that are guided recordings. And you guys will get one for free if you want one. You just have to text me. So we go through those and start learning how to relax, start learning to go within. And we do these different exercises that I assign to each person intuitively based on what I feel like they need and the messages I'm getting from their higher self and their guides. And as we go through this, we create this synergy together. And it's super cool because I'm like with you all the time. And so I'll get messages and I'll text you voice recordings and things throughout the process, but there are steps that we follow. But again, it's very intuitive as well. And so it's pretty cool. I worked with some amazing women, some really cool women. And so I've worked with a lot of business owners lately too.
Yeah, a lot of the people that overthink, what I have found in my practice is that a lot of times they're really successful, really intelligent women who have been able to accomplish a lot with their intellect and figuring things out logically. So they want to do that with everything. And yeah.
It's a habit because it got you where you are, but it's not going to get you where you want to be.
Well, it's just that our intuition and subconscious are so much more powerful.
Yeah.
Right,
because the thinking is a tool, but we can't use it everywhere. Yes. It's a tool for a lot of things, but it doesn't work everywhere.
So what do you think is the most important thing for people to understand about being here on Earth as a human?
I think the most important thing to understand is that, well, there's so many, but one is that you chose to be here. You knew what your lessons were, what you wanted to get out of this experience. Now, as you remove all the noise, because getting where you want to go isn't about gaining stuff. It's about releasing what you don't need, because you already have everything that you need. I mean, inside you have everything that you need. It's just we don't see that because there's too much. So it's quieting things down, and it's listening, and it's understanding that you're not a victim of circumstance. You're not here by accident. You chose to be here to get what you wanted to get. Life force is always moving through you. And so you don't have to struggle. You don't have to all this stuff says you got to fight. That's the hard way. You can do it through your will, and that's the hard way. Or you can relax into life force energy and let it show you where to go. And as you trust your intuition and you take those steps, this is where faith comes in, and your faith will grow stronger. Your faith in the universe, God, if you're religious, that faith that whatever's given to you, you can handle. Whatever comes across, into your path is there for your learning. When you have that faith, then you get used to trusting your intuition, and you take those steps, even if they go against logic and it doesn't look good on paper. I moved to Washington from Florida. I've lived all over, but I moved from Florida to Washington State it wasn't a whim, but it was intuition. I felt drawn to a certain area, and I moved to Tacoma, Washington, based on intuition, and I didn't know anybody. and it turned out to be one of the best things I ever did. I met people, I learned lessons, and I had a huge amount of growth in that area, and the whole Seattle area, the time that I spent up there. I really did. And the other thing is, when you ask for something, you ask for learning, you ask for growth, even if you do it as a soul, you're going to get it. Now, it may not look the way you think it's going to look, but you're going to get it. I want to share this if I have time. It's kind of interesting because things work in a way that's higher and better than our brain can think it's going to go. So you may think, okay, well, I want this learning and I want this experience, and so here's how it's going to work out. No, that's not. You can force it, but now I had talked to Kate before about this. So I'm 50 something, and I'm raising a 6-year-old. So a long time. So I understand though that, and this has just happened. So it's kind of interesting because there were things I needed to learn. I have been single and myself just on my own for a long time, doing whatever I wanted to do. And the universe gave me this to give me some limits because I didn't have a lot of limits. Now I have boundaries. I've always had good not always, but mostly had good boundaries. But this limitation, I'm learning so much because I wanted some learning. I wanted a push, and it's really, in the time that I've been doing this, it's really opened my eyes to some things. Here's the cool part is that, I always wanted 2 children. I had my son when I was 18 years old. So he's 30 something now. So about 6-7 years after that, I had a soul come to me wanting to be born to me. Or maybe it was longer than that. Maybe it was like 10 years after, something like that. Because I remember I was probably, that age range. And I didn't want to do it. My husband wanted me to get pregnant, and I was just like, I could feel that. But at the same time, like, I was like, no, I have other things I want to do, but I could feel that soul had been around. I'm going to say about a year. I saw him in my dreams, things like that. When I met this child, shortly after he was born, he was probably 6 months or so, I met him. I felt that soul connection, and it feels like it's the same person. So he was born into the family. So I thought, wow, this is so cool. So this is my niece's son, and so we became fast friends, playmates, and I just instantly had this love for him. And I wasn't surprised when I was the one ending up being his caregiver, because I believe it's the same, if it's the same guy. I've seen him in my dreams, and I can feel his soul. So it's pretty cool how things work, and things work in ways where if you let the universe figure it out, life is a fun surprise. It really can be.
Well, that leads me to the next question I was going to ask, actually. This is sort of off topic, but you kind of brought it on into topic. It's a question I've been asking all of my guests recently, and that is, what has surprised you most about life?
Wow, I've had such a weird life, I think. What has surprised me most about life? Wow. I think that as you move along, you get to periods where you think you know a lot, and then from that peak, you get to the point where you're like, I know nothing.
Yes, exactly.
But it's kind of cool because then you start climbing up again. But really, it's like going around a mountain like this, and you keep seeing things from a higher and higher and higher perspective. And I think the coolest thing about life is that it is full of wonder. It really is, but it's our responsibility to look for that. With all that, I traveled for 13 years. I was on the road speaking all through the States and Canada and places. What I tried to do is every city, I tried to find something to see so I could feel like I had been there, because I realized that I would look at my schedule and think, was I there? Was I in, Traverse City, Wisconsin or Michigan, wherever that is up there, Michigan, I think, and then have no recollection of having been there. And I thought, you know what? I'm not being present. I'm going to take some time, no matter how busy I am, and I'm going to see something. I'm going to experience something. I'm going to, even if I just have to sit in a graveyard, which is one of my favorite places to go, and really feel the energy there. I'm going to do it. So there is wonder around every single corner. The less you think, the more you allow your intuition, and the more faith you have in the universe, the more fun surprises and cool things can happen. And it can just be like a treasure hunt, because you don't know what's coming. You can just take the steps your intuition tells you to take, and life can be a blast.
So we are almost out of time, but my last question is, if you could leave the listeners with one thought from today's show, what would you want that to be?
I would like that to be that there's no mistakes out there. Nothing happens to you by accident. Anything, no matter how bad it is or how difficult it's been, try to think to yourself, try to say to yourself, I'm going to get something out of this. I'm going to get something good out of this. And you know what? You will. You're going to get something good if you have intention to get something good. And talk to your guides, ask for insight. If you have those inclinations that come up, those things that come up that feel uncomfortable, stop and be present with them. It's your body, it's your energy, it's your stuff trying to show you something and tell you something. Sit and be with it for just a moment. Breathe into it, whether it's sadness, it's guilt. Let yourself feel that and let it move through you. It's there for a reason. It's trying to express, and no feeling, none of that stuff, anger, guilt, all of it has a right to be there. And so just be an allowance. That's bigger, hard, easier said than done. But if you can be an allowance. Yeah.
Okay, great. Good advice. So if people want to, get in touch with you for reading or anything else, how do they do that?
Sure. I can send you a link to some testimonials of reading, so that if you want to see that, I also have a recording that explains a little bit more about a reading. And I have the gift for you, which is a guided meditation. I call it a mind meditation. It's a layered meditation. It's layered with subliminal messages and music. Just text me. Text me, just say text with the word like free meditation or info on reading or reading. It's the easiest way.
So where do they text you at?
My number for that is 816-803-3457. 816-803-3457. And is it in the information that's on here or no?
On the radio website, and that's soulfireradio.com, they can go to the guests page, and it has a listing. I just changed that. It has a listing of guests with their contact information. So if they forget or they didn't write that down, they can go there and find it.
Yeah, so texting is just the easiest way for me. I just hate email. If you have a question too, like a specific question, let me know. And then I can also, I'm doing a couple of specials with the readings and with the coaching. So if you want a free consultation, let me know that as well. Okay. Yeah. And I'll help you in any way I can, or clarify anything that I can for you if you have anything you want to say.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being here and talking about this. It's always fascinating.
Well, I'm really honored that you asked me on today. It was very nice spending time with you, Kate. Very, very nice. Very
Yeah.
honored.
All right, and we have a great show planned for next week. Next week, my guests will be Michael Oden and Lena Ungus. And Michael and Elena are actually married, husband and wife, and I met them in 2016 when we were speaker personal development symposium, and one of the things that they deal with that is really their passion is trauma. So they both have different aspects of their life in dealing with trauma. And so we'll be talking about that and Alina's book that she was just a contributor to. So be sure to tune in next week, 3 p.m. Pacific time. And that show is Healing from Trauma. So I have a thought for you to carry with you through the week, and that is trust your hunches. They're usually based on facts filed away just below the conscious level. And that was said by Dr. Joyce Brothers. So I hope 2021 has started out well for everyone. Heaven knows it has to be a better year. So
yeah, and it will be, I think.
Yes, I think so too. I think we reached rock bottom in 2020. So thanks again, January.
Thank you so much, Kate. Take care. Bye, you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
And I'm just going to say bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Soulfire Wisdom with Kate Olson. We hope you enjoyed the show. If we made you laugh, brightened your day, or sparked a new thought, we have succeeded in our mission. Join us next time when we'll share more secrets and truths and all the magic of transformation that is the journey to Soulfire Wisdom. Always remember, be fierce in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire.